Oh, you're Android. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, I'm an Android guy. I'm out here in these streets.
That's right, man. I think that the Android is the street phone for sure.
Android is the streets, man. Bootleg, everything. Do what you want. Don't have to answer to nobody.
Green text boxes all day. But yeah, man, I'm glad we finally linked up to do this. I remember we were talking about doing this. I don't know if you remember, like 2 or more years ago when you dropped the Abeng album.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right, actually.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man, but it's crazy. I don't know, man. You're so busy. This is what's crazy to me. It's like we talked about doing this a couple weeks ago and then it didn't happen. And just in those couple weeks, you dropped like a compilation album that you did with Green Sleeves. Yeah. And a new single, right?
Yeah. I've dropped 9 singles since the year started.
Since 2021? That's crazy.
Yeah. So the goal is to drop 21 in 21.
Man.
That's the goal. Drop 21 songs in 21.
That's why. Are you, just out of curiosity, because that's an ambitious goal, are these songs you've been sitting on, or are you making these songs?
Yeah, correct. I would say majority of my songs I just had in a back catalog.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them not to come out. They'll never come out if I don't do it now.
Yep.
This is just the year of getting a lot of the songs out so that I can not have that antagonizing feeling of opening your laptop and being like, man, this song is so fire and no one will ever hear
Right.
it.
Well, what was the reason for the delay? Because I think everybody has different reasons, right? Like some people, they wait until they find what they think is the perfect situation, which maybe they're never going to find that, so it never happens. Other people, it's like, oh, well, I've waited too long. Now it doesn't make sense. What was it for you?
All of that. All the reasons you can think of, man. Thank you. It's overthinking to the extreme. Waiting for a label to pick it up, looking for a budget, trying to figure out what to do with the song. Also wondering if it sounds good enough and it's finished. That right there, not being finished is a big deal. Yeah. You always want to add something. You always want to take away something. You're always like, oh, it's not it. And I realized that the one thing I learned from COVID is the space between creativity being created and being released is just dead space. That space in between is just dead space. Yes. You're better off creating something and just dropping it immediately.
Yeah, I agree, man. There's a famous quote. I say it on this podcast a lot, and I don't even remember who said it, but it's great art is never completed. It's only abandoned.
I love that.
Yeah, because it's the same, man. No matter, even artists we look at as geniuses or whatever, they feel the same way, the same thing you're talking about, the same insecurities, the same situation, all of that. It's funny, man. I don't know. Not to mention, you're also, still heavy with Major Lazer, doing that. Just following you on social media. You're flying all around doing shows. You guys did some drive-in shows too. All of that.
Yeah, some concerts, but not really like anything, man. We're barely doing anything, but yeah, we did the drive-in shows and some other shows.
Yeah. I mean, it's just funny to hear you say we're barely doing anything because you did a few shows. Major Lazer dropped some music too, and that's like, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's nowhere near what we were doing.
Right. I'm kind of jumping all around. I'm going to structure this a little more in a second, but for you and Major Lazer, when did you join them? Was that kind of like, that's got to be like almost 10 years ago now?
Yeah, 10 years ago. How did
that come about?
Me and with some friends, the other guy became a Christian, called me up, asked if I wanted to join. That was it. So, I mean, how did you know Wes up to that point? We're both from Florida. We're both from South Florida.
Yeah. And was that through, because you were in a group, Black Chiney, as well, right?
Right. Yeah. He was a fan of Black Chiney. So yeah, we met.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's interesting because I think Major Lazer has gone through so many iterations and so many it keeps reinventing itself. And I feel like people, I don't know. I feel like people maybe don't know your role in it. Like to me, and this is just what I see from the outside, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like at this point, you're steering a lot of what's happening with Major Lazer. Like I see your handprints in a lot of what's happening with that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's still a collaborative effort. You know, it's still a group, it's still a band. Everybody adds it. But Wes is definitely super busy with the other 4 or 5 projects he's on. And I love Major Lazer, man. I love it. It's the ultimate dream to be able to travel the world and experience culture and play music for so many different people. It's nothing better in the world. It feels amazing, you know? So I want to see this continue for the rest of my life, to be honest with you. I want to be a part of this for the rest of my life. I want to see people that aren't even born yet be fans of Major Lazer one day, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And I think it's so cool to watch the musical evolution of it too, because I think so many people set out to try to make this sort of globally appealing sound or these hybrid sounds that are really hard to classify and fit in a lot of different areas, but very few people actually accomplish that. Major Lazer to me is one of the few that's been able to do that.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely.
How intentional, like, I guess I'm curious, how intentional is that? Like, is this something you guys talk about of, you know, how do we keep feeding different worlds?
I think a lot of people kind of feel like there's a process that makes sense. There isn't. And so every time I get that question, I'm always like, man, I know the answers are always just disappointing because people, they want to think somehow we're sitting at this big table with gauntlets and just like a big, you know, boiling pot in the middle. And we're just, you know, cooking up this master plan. It's not like that. It's extremely fluid. It's extremely in the moment. It's extremely, one day we could hear something and it totally changed the trajectory of everything, you know? So there's no method to what you guys are hearing at all.
Yeah, which I think is kind of the best way to do it. I think that's when creativity is at its best. Like I talk to a lot of producers on this show, and one thing that comes up a lot is the idea that, you know, the best songs and the most creative, most interesting ideas are the ones where you're not overthinking it, the ones where you're almost not thinking about it at all. And it's sort of like, I don't know. I don't know how spiritual you get with creativity and with music making and all that. But to me, it's like, I'm not a spiritual person, but music to me is a spiritual activity. And so to me, it's like making yourself a vessel for something, just allowing, you know, when something else can take over, whatever you want to call creativity, that's the beautiful moment to me.
Yeah, to me, you know, I figure, you know, I got to go back to everything in between creativity and releasing it is just a dead space. When I really think about like how much life experience has added to what I do and what we do as a band, and how many times we thought something was one thing and then a life experience comes along and just, again, changes the trajectory of everything. You're just like, oh no, this is where we want to go with that. And I think my Bang project was the greatest thing I've ever done because it was me putting together all of the life experiences I've had. And it feels so fulfilling. And so I felt so complete. And then after that, I got a whole new set of life experiences, including the pandemic. So now I'm like, man, I need more. You know, I need to drop a Bang album now because I got a whole other story to tell. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Bang album for a second for the people who might not know, because you dropped that in 2019, right, on Mad Decent, and it's, you know, this really interesting pairing of African and Caribbean sounds. And I was listening back to it just a couple weeks ago when I knew we were going to be talking, and what really struck me about it, is that I didn't have a reference point. I couldn't say like, hey, this sounds like something else I've heard exactly. But also there were all these. It's more than just the African and Caribbean sounds. There's touches of all these different influences and sounds, and the production's really modern and fresh. I don't know. For you, like, what was the thought going into making that album? And if it is, you know, the thing you're most proud of thus far in your career, like what was different about the process of making that than other things you've done?
It was just me. It wasn't like the guys who were there. That's totally different. I never did a full project with just me. I'm lying. I did my very first album I did was called Be Inspired. But that was for a ski documentary kind of like soundtrack kind of thing. Super huge for me because I was able to get like Raekwon on it and some other people. I actually would ask everybody to go check it out. It's a hip hop kind of album, like a very boom bap kind of album. Yeah. Traditional hip hop with some dancehall vocals every now and then sprinkled in. The highlight of it to me was Raekwon and Kabaka Pyramid in a collaboration, but so many good songs on it. I mean, me and this guy named Iberg from Be Inspired, we worked so hard on that project. And then after that was the Abeng project. But I've executive produced other albums since then, Coffee and some other stuff. But the Abeng one was like just me. I didn't have too much input or help executively from anybody. I worked really hard. I worked about 2 years really hard on that project. And that one means the most for sure.
How did that feel, doing it all on your own, stepping out like that?
Yeah, it felt good. And you don't even notice it. It's not until now that I say it that I'm like, oh wow, yeah, man. But and I mean, I got help. It wasn't like no help, But
yeah,
Wes was extremely helpful in linking certain things, and he really wanted me. He was the main person pushing me to do it. He was like, yo, you need a solo album, bro. This Afrobeat thing is taking off, and Caribbean people have been looking at me as like an ambassador of the Caribbean for so long. And it just made sense. And I followed his lead and, I think put together a super dope album.
Yeah, I agree, man. I went back, I was doing a little research and reading some old interviews, and I found a quote that you had said that I wanted to bring up and to see how you felt about it now. I don't even know when this is from, but in the interview, you said that your sole purpose was to bring international glory for reggae and dancehall through what you were doing, which is such a, I feel like that's a strong statement. You don't hear people make statements that strong.
Yeah, it is. And I wonder if I even feel that way now. Because now I would say I feel a bigger purpose, right? Like I feel a bigger purpose, one that is much more rooted in the African diaspora and all of the sounds of the diaspora. And so reggae dancehall, of course, is my foundation and will always be intertwined in everything I do. But now I look at compa. Now I look at zouk. Now I look at salsa. Now I look at all the music coming out of Africa. And I feel just as responsible for that as well. And so that purpose is expanded for sure, which I think is going to reflect on my next project.
Well, that's great, man. And I want to talk about what you got coming up next in a minute. But what you just said just struck an idea in me, which is that I think you might have a unique perspective on this, which is when we talk about zouk or when we talk about any of these little sounds, little scenes that then grow to be these big sounds influencing international culture. And this is something I think about all the time. How do we, support and help these sounds grow without, while also protecting them, I guess is what I'm saying, in the sense of cultural appropriation. You know me, like I work in dance music and there's all kinds of issues about appropriation in dance music. Right. It's like, how do people safely engage and support and just build these things while making sure that they don't get sort of lost once they start going mainstream?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's also extremely difficult to answer because
it is.
What we're talking about is free will, free speech, and trying to get someone who has free will and free speech to do something that makes us feel good. Where, by things like acknowledging, things like giving back, things like collaborating with the people who are on the scene. All the things that are just obvious to me. Like those are obvious things, right? Yeah. Like if you're going to do a dancehall track, it's very obvious that you should, one, make sure it's called dancehall. Two, collaborate with somebody on the dancehall scene, whether it be the beat was made by, the video was shot by, styling your style by. But I go back to free will and free speech, right? So do I spend my time, energy, and money trying to get somebody who's just another human like me to say what I want them to say?
Right.
And to do what I want them to do? Or do I just do it? And that's where I'm at with that. You know, of course, as a part of Major Lazer, you know, I've watched West get the cultural appropriation thing a million times.
Yep.
I've watched him answer it and answer it and answer it and answer it and answer it. And he answers it very well, because the truth is, when you love music, you just love music. This is not this thing, right? And so when you love music, you're like, man, I love that song from India. And I love the energy and I love the sounds from that. I want to immerse myself in that. And then you do a song that's similar or of that genre, you see people begin to say, hey, this is similar. You know, when a dancehall song goes, like when Ed Sheeran did his dancehall song, you know, everybody was like, yo, that's a dancehall song. I totally think Ed Sheeran knows that's a dancehall song. Like,
yeah,
right?
I bet he does.
Ed Sheeran especially, right? He's a good example. We know same no. But why is it that I don't know why we want another human to literally sit there and be like, I'm doing dancehall. He's just another person like we are. And if he doesn't want to say it, yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Because I'll continue to say it. I'll continue to do it. I'll continue to represent. Major Lazer, I feel like we've done a great job of bringing artists from all over the world together in a collaborative effort that no one else has done.
I agree.
And still somebody would say something negative. So you realize pleasing everybody is an impossibility, but pleasing yourself is an absolute necessity.
I love the way you said that, man. And you're right. I mean, what I heard from what you just said is something everybody knows, but we forget all the time, which is that you can't, the only thing we can control is ourselves, right? We can't control other people, but what we can do is be a good example to other people and live the way we would like to see other people living. And I think what you said too is for anyone who's in that position where you're trying to broaden your horizons or you're trying to work with sounds you're not familiar with, all that, I think it's do your homework and it's give back, right?
Yeah, just basic things. Like I said, work with the producers, work with the artists, work with the art directing people, the videographers. To me, that's just basic. But I choose to do that. That's what I choose to do.
Right.
If someone else doesn't choose to do that, I'm not spending my time, energy, and money trying to convince them to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's them. I do it. I do it. And so, like I just think about it all the time. Like I remember when with Swiss Beats and Verses, a lot of the people that are in the dancehall culture and the sound clash culture were very much like, yo, this is a dancehall. It's a Jamaican thing he's doing. Mind you, Swiss Beats is extremely aware of dancehall culture, extremely aware of sound system culture and of clash culture. And I didn't see anything wrong with people being like, hey, next time you do an interview, just please remember to kind of shout us out, because it'll go a long way.
Yep.
If somebody reads it, then they research it, then they become fans of it. It could go a long way. Swizz has done a lot. He's posted, he spoke, he's reminded everybody like, yo, this is where the code, he's done his thing. And I see nothing wrong with that. If somebody sees me doing something, they go, yo, bro, I love what you did. So in other words, what I'm saying is I'm not saying anything against the people who speak and say, hey, this is something that we're doing. You guys, you're sounding familiar to what we're doing. Or, hey, I've heard that before, that sound before, that energy. Yo, do that all day long. Do that, guys. You guys are the most important part of this whole structure. Without you, the whole thing falls apart. Yeah. So, at no point say, don't make your voice be heard, don't speak, don't tweet, don't Don't message. Don't, or call out if you want to do it. I kind of feel like there's a little clout when it comes to the call out thing, but whatever.
Right.
But I am saying manage your own time, energy, which equals money. Manage your own time and energy so that it's not consuming you to try and get somebody who doesn't want to do something to do something.
Right.
Balance your concern with the actuality that that's another human just like you. And if they want to call the sky green, there's just nothing you're going to do about it. There's nothing you're going to do. If they're going to say, yo, the sky is mine. I own the sky. No matter how much you tweet them and call them out, and if that's what they decided to say, that's just what they're going to say. Yeah. So, I just advise everybody, just be mindful of your own life and don't let what someone else is doing totally consume. And just bring a negative energy and make you sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
be a healthy you. Be a healthy you. Be your healthiest you. And I believe that the people who are positive and healthy actually present a louder message and get more done in these kinds of conversations than the person who's just attacking and is negative and da-da-da. Yeah, man, just make sure you don't affect your own health or your own time and energy concerned with what somebody else is going to do, because at the end of the day, they don't have to do anything. You can't make them, and you'll spend a lot of time trying.
Yeah, well, and I think, we could apply that to more than just this conversation. That's, I think, a general life
anything
lesson.
In life. Yeah, man.
Yeah. That's like, I think social media in general, people are running into that issue all the time now, especially in the creative community. I think artists get crippled by that, by watching what other people are doing. And either they don't like it and it holds them back because they focus on it, or they feel bad about themselves because it's something they wish they were doing. And it, all of that. How are you with social media and all that? How much do you engage versus...
Social media don't exist for me, man. It's not real. It's not a real world. And I recognized that a long time ago. So I don't do anything. I live my real life. And then what you see is Walshy Fire.
Right.
And Walshy Fire makes music and does parties. That's all you're going to see. I never post anything political. I never post anything religious. I never post anything personal. Never, ever, 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 because I don't know y'all. And what we have is a business transaction. I give you music, you stream it. I give you parties, you go. It's a fair trade. We're in a fair trade system. What my mom is doing, I don't see what you get from that. I don't see what I get from you from that.
Yeah.
If I tell you what my mom is doing today, what do you give me that I go, that was a fair trade? Likes? I'm not in it for that. Clout? I'm not in it for that. What, you going to stalk my mom? Not in it for that.
Definitely not that.
So when I see a lot of people posting their kids and their homes and all this stuff, I again say, do you do whatever you feel to do? Do you, but not me, man. No way. I could never. No, social media and me are not friends. We work. It's like me and social media are in cubicles next to each other.
Yeah, that's right, man. You're just putting in the work. You're at the office. That's the way I like to look at it too. I wish we didn't have to engage with it at all. It doesn't for me, it doesn't really add much that I enjoy, other than, maybe a sense of what's going on in the world a little easier.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little bit older than probably you and most people listening.
I don't know. I might be competing with you, man. I feel like
I just remember when there was none.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
And I know how happy life was,
yeah.
And I know how much I got done, and I know how much, I'm going to say something that maybe people won't understand. And if they don't understand, I want to say, man, I really wish you understood. But I loved harder because it was harder to love. My friendships were a million times stronger because it was harder to be a friend.
Yeah, because you have to put in more effort, right?
You have to put in work. I hope you got little clips that you're going to be clipping and being like, these are gems he's dropping, little 5-minute gems. It was harder to love, bro. And so you loved harder. You loved deeper. It was harder to be a friend. So you ended up being a friend 10 times more than what you'd be a friend now, where you could just have met somebody one time, comment on a couple of their pictures, DM them a couple of times, and they'll be like, oh, no, that's my friend. You know, you couldn't do that back then. You had to know my mom.
Right.
You had to know my mama's first and last name. You know, that's how we were friends. We had to go through something. We had to actually work. It was harder. And so I say that to say, you know, this day and age, I don't think any of it is real. I think none of it is real. I think when people actually get in real relationships, it's not even real. And it's because so much of their life is consumed with what other people are doing and what social media is giving them, that I don't see how that thing that they're in could get the focus and attention that it not only deserves but needs. It's like, you know, like a relationship is like a plant, right? Like, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, you know, what DMX said, you know, it's not the kind of, you know, water that you put in the plant. It's not, you know, it needs to have alkaline water or anything like that. The plant just needs attention. It just needs attention. It just needs care and attention. And I don't see how someone in this day and age could really balance being super, you know, when I say super, I mean spending hours on social media a day and still be in something and give it that give it the focus and attention that it needs, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, plus I think it takes, you know, when we were kids and there was no social media, I mean, that was practice for the relationships we were going to build as adults, right? And if we had grown up with social media, I don't know if we would have had the same training, the same ability to form these kind of relationships we're talking about. And I want to be careful because I'm not trying to be the old guy sort of shit talking the way it works now, but you know, it was different. And I think we're in like a transitional time now where where society and the new generation is figuring out what role technology plays in their life and how their relationships work. And I don't know that we've gotten there yet. I don't know what it's
I think
like.
I think it's going to be a pendulum swing for sure, and the universe will find its balance. But go on Twitter for like 5 minutes, man. It's toxicity level. And I'm not even a person that's like in the mix up. I don't have an algorithm that's like, you know, let me show you nothing but girls twerking and people fighting at the airport.
Yeah.
Like that's not my algorithm. Like that's definitely, I don't follow those people. But the people I follow those people. And so then they retweet, and then the person I follow retweets, and then all of a sudden I'm watching a huge fight at Southwest Airlines.
It's always Southwest.
Yeah. You know, and you're just like, yo, there's nothing I gain from this. I don't gain anything from this. I don't care. I don't need to see this. And I immediately just put my phone down. So, you know, I'm doing my best to try and not sound like an old man in the room as well. But I do think that there will be some kind of social media overdose and then backlash. I see that in the future. I see it being to a point where people realize that social media has made more lives dysfunctional than it has functioning. It's breaking up a flow that nature has kind of like set. And I think people will go, we haven't hit the extreme yet. I think when we get into virtual reality, that's when we'll hit the extreme. So everybody out there who thinks I sound like an old man, definitely this is just the calm before the storm. If you thought this was the storm, you got no idea what virtual reality is about to do when people immerse themselves in a fake world fully.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be different. It's going to be interesting. And I think that's when we'll see the overdosing on social media. That's when we'll see the real detriment to society. And I think that's when we'll see the backlash.
Well, can we talk about your early years? Because I'm really curious, what it was like for you coming up, what childhood was like, what music was around you, how you really caught the bug for what you've ended up doing now. Like if you think back to, when you were a kid, like the kids we're talking about right now, there was no social media, you're running around with your friends. Like, where were you? What kind of music is around you? What kind of kid are you?
All right, so I'll try to keep it short, but I don't think what I'm going to say everyone can relate to. I know that there will be some people that'll go, yo, I fully relate to that. So first of all, I'm Jamaican. My parents came to this country. That's a whole different thing. So basically, I like to say it like this. Slavery put my grandparents, my great grandparents in a place, and they did everything they could to fight themselves out of that situation. They sacrificed their life so that their kids could have a better, and that their kids could have a better, and that their kids could have a better. So what I have is I have generational sacrifice. My direct grandmother sacrificed her life. She worked all day long just so that her daughter, my mother, could be the first one to go to school. Right? So from slavery to my grandmother, no one had gone to school.
Right.
My grandmother didn't go to school. My mom didn't finish school. My mom joined the workforce at like 13. Very, very normal in third world countries.
Right.
And of course, was normal one time in America. So my mom then sacrifices her life. She works. My mom used to hitchhike to work. I grew up in a place in Miami called Carroll City, aka Miami Gardens now, but definitely super rough area, super, super rough area.
Yeah.
And my mom hitchhiked to work, hitchhiked home. She worked 16 hours a day at Florida Power and Light and sacrificed her entire life. 40 something years she worked at that place just so I could be the first one to finish high school. I did more than that. I went to college, finished college. First one in my family to finish college. Then I went to grad school. First one in my family to finish grad school. I saw my mom's sacrifices at a very, very early age. And those sacrifices motivated me to start to get into the workforce at a very young age. And so this is how it ties in with music. As a preteen, I began to walk around selling cassette tapes. That's how I got into music.
Are we talking bootleg cassettes?
Reggae tapes and hip hop. So I would sell like Rakim, Keras One, Boogie Down Productions. I would sell like EPMD. Then I would also sell Stone Love, Kilimanjaro, all the dancehall cassettes. I would just dub them, spend all night dubbing them. And then I would walk up and down. Well, I was doing that in Kingston originally. Then when I got to Miami, I would walk up and down South Beach selling these tapes. A lot of people in Miami still remember me for being this kid who was, 12 years old, walking up to them with cassette tapes.
You were just one of those that you were always around, whatever was happening.
Right. So I saw everything. I saw Miami transform 100 million ways. But I say that to say that this is all a part of my story. And that the question that you're asking, I did have fun. I had fun. No question, I had fun. But I also found purpose extremely early.
Right.
I didn't have someone that was like, yo, you're the roof over your head is secure. I felt as the man in the house responsible at 12 to get up and get out and go get some money, of which I never spent a single dollar of it on myself, ever, ever, ever. Because after I did the cassettes, I also started to work as a barber in this guy's house in the neighborhood. And then I got my first job at this place called Long John Silver's. They make like fried fish.
Oh, I know them.
Like
Yeah.
For everyone out there that's not heard of it, I don't think they're around anymore.
Yeah,
but
they were like
they were like a fish shack.
Right.
So when I'm like 16, I get this job at Long John Silver's in Miami Lakes, which is no longer there. And so I'm working all these jobs. I'm still selling tapes. I'm still doing barbering. And I'm working at this fish shack. And every single dollar I ever made, every check that was handed to me, I gave it to my mom. And if I needed gas money, I said, Mom, can you give me $20 for gas money? If I decided I was going to go out to this club called the Pac Jam in Miami, most iconic club in Miami for Miami bass, I would ask her, can she give me $10? Because it would cost $5 to get in. And it was a teen club, so they only sold soda.
Right.
You know, so you have $1 for some soda and you'd enjoy yourself all night. She would give me the $10. She would never, she got everything. And I think she always felt like, wow, like my son has really stepped up at such an early age, but at the same time, it's already in our culture to do this. And so so I'm ending this by saying, I'm still in sacrifice mode.
Yeah. You're still that same kid.
I'm still, And I'm hoping that my children become the first ones that don't have to go into sacrifice mode. I want them to be the ones that benefit from slavery to me. All of those people sacrificing their life to make sure that they can live a truly free and fun and healthy, positive life.
I mean, that's the most beautiful thing you could possibly wish for, man. I think I don't think you could have a better reason to do anything in life. And it makes me wonder when you're going through college and grad school and all of that, did you know that music was going to be the thing at that time?
Not really, because music didn't pay at that time.
Yeah.
And if you're 40 years old, music is recently is when people are getting paid for money. Okay, so anyone listening to this that's under 40, they might not understand. Like there was no one made money in music in the 90s and for the most part the early 2000s. And you can look at any of those guys and see that only a handful of them are wealthy.
Yeah.
And they're usually the ones that own the record companies, the Birdmans, the P. Diddy's, these are the guys that made money off of this. Everyone else might be okay. The majority of them are not good at all. And so, no, I did not think I was going to do music because music didn't make money. And I was not in a space to follow my own creativity just so lily galley, so whimfully, like as if I didn't have real life pressure and wasn't trying to always alleviate pressure off my mom. My dad had 12 kids. And so there was an ever revolving door of people that were in need of help. So I knew that I could not be the person that's just like, I'm going to jump out the window and follow my dream.
Well, when did it flip? So no, how did it flip?
It flipped when I worked at IBM. When I got my job, when I got the big, super job at IBM that paid like, I think it paid like $45,000 a year.
Yeah.
At that time, though,
that's a lot. Yeah. What were you doing? Software?
It might have been more. I think it might have been like 60,000. Huh?
Oh, okay. Were you doing software? What were you doing?
I was doing technical sales. So basically, and this is why I quit that job. I worked in Georgia, which is where I went to college, Atlanta, Georgia, where IBM is huge. It's funny, because I say this and I realize I've answered this question 100 times. And I want to say, majority of the time, nobody knows what IBM is. And that is insane to me.
Oh, you just blew my mind.
Just to know how big they were at one point to now somebody being like, what's IBM?
Damn. Yeah, I guess this is officially an old man conversation.
Yeah, it is an old man talk, man. Sip your tea, bro. Let me sip too. Come on. Yeah, you have to remember now, there were places that you would go to, like even if there was a Sony Vaio and an Apple computer, they were all together in a computer store next to the IBM.
Yeah.
Now you just go straight to the Apple store. You go straight to the Sony store. You no longer need to see what the competitors look like.
That's true.
Or as we say in Jamaica, you don't need to taste and then buy. You know, you don't need to sample and then be like, okay, I want that. You just know what you want because somebody else said, go get it.
Right.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at.
Power of branding, man.
Yeah, man. So what I said is that job, man, that job was the kicker. That job was the one where I was like, yeah, man, I can't be confined to this desk. I felt like I was living in hell. You know, so I took myself out that hell. I quit the job. And then that's when I was like, all right, now I've done a lot. I've accomplished a lot. And I do think now I want to try to do something that I just love. And I really loved music. I loved music way beyond what a normal person would. But you know what I'm saying? But in college, I started doing DJing on the side a little bit.
Yeah.
And I got pretty popular. And so, yeah, I was just like, I really love that. And I want to go back to that. And so I quit IBM, started at zero, moved back to my mom's house. I think I was 23, 22, moved back home to Miami and started at zero.
Man, what did that look like? I mean, what were the early years? Because the first thing I know about you is Black Chiney in terms of music. Right.
Yeah, so I played a sound called Changes first, then I played a sound called Copper Shot, a little stint on a sound called Excalibur, and then Black China. But if you can kind of gather what I'm saying to you as far as like who I already was,
yeah,
making it in whatever I decided to do was just inevitable. I was already that kid. Not too many kids are out selling cassette tapes at 12 years old.
True.
I was already that kid. I was already that whatever the grind is, you know, okay, it's 104 degrees outside. I don't even care. I'm not even realizing it's 104 degrees outside. Whatever the grind was, I had already built up that's who I was. It was just another day where you wake up and you do as much as you can in the day. So starting over, wasn't anything. It was just another thing that was just like, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And so I would take off every single day and try and get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Just with that foundation, I mean, that makes total sense. Was Black Chiney the first time you started touring and traveling for music?
Yeah, man, for sure. First time I started to see money too. You know, I was able to eventually buy my own house by the age of 26. Yeah, man. Yeah,
well, and earlier you were saying, you know, Major Lazer, part of it that appeals to you, part of it that you love is, you know, the getting to travel all around and see and interact with all these different cultures. What are some early memories you have of that kind of travel? Was there anything that comes to mind that just blew your mind
nothing
open?
That comes to mind, but just so much good memories, man. Germany being the biggest fan base for us. Touring through Canada in the wintertime, seeing every little nook and cranny of Canada that you would be like, yo, can't believe Caribbean people live here. Seeing how big reggae music and dancehall music was all over the world. It was an amazing experience.
And when did production come along for you? Because you were DJing all along.
Not until I met Wes. But Dupes was the first person I seen do it. Dupes was he was a part of Black Chiney. He was the owner of Black Chiney. He was the first I seen doing it, the first I seen making remixes and things like that. But Wes was the first one to be like, you know, you should get into this. So at that time, with Black China, I started doing little remixes. We were using Acid and SoundForge. Those were the two programs at the time. And then, when I met Wes, I was still using Acid, and everybody had moved on to Ableton and to these other things. And I was still using Acid because I was a god at Acid and I knew what to do. And I just remember, like, when I met Wes, he couldn't believe I was still using Acid. He respected it. He was like, yo, this guy's still on Acid. And everybody was on Pro Tools and Ableton.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it really started to like go crazy.
That's funny, man. Acid for me was Moonchi and Jokers of the Scene. I don't know if you remember them. Those are the only two I remembered. And those are like polar opposite music too.
Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, man. But shout out to Acid. I mean, it's crazy. You mentioned it, just like threw it off before, but I feel like we should hit on this. You know, you've produced global hit like Coffee Toast. You know, these are things I don't know if everybody knows that you have your hands in.
Yeah, so I just executive produced that album. Izzy's the actual producer of that beat.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so I did things like just arrange the beats and just, you know, obviously arrange the vocals, get the vocals on the beat and arrange the vocals. But Izzy's the actual like producer of that beat.
Right.
But I definitely like still can't believe that like that even happened, because there was another song on that beat initially, and that was about to go out. And then I was just in the studio working with this girl, Coffee, working with her. And then they called me and they were like, yo, she's going to put some lyrics on this. And I went to the studio and what I heard was just like, so I knew it. I knew it was a hit. I knew it.
Well, and I've seen you say this in other interviews, but I wanted to talk about it for a second. It's a positive song, right? And
in a space where there's not that much positive music.
Yeah, exactly.
Dancehall doesn't have that much positive music. It definitely needs to balance itself and have much more. And so I think this song kind of made everybody look up and be like, oh, wow, positive music sounds so good. And I feel so good. We should hear more of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. And hearing it in the clubs too, right? It's this whole different kind of energy. And it's like, it's kind of weird that it feels new or fresh to just hear positive, happy songs in the club. But I don't know, man, as a DJ, I'm sure you can relate. There's just a different energy crowds have and dancers have when the music is talking about something different. Like, it seems obvious to say, but then seeing it in real life, it feels weird.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those weird things where you're just like, man, I've DJ'd the songs that are like kill black men. I've DJ'd the songs that are like hoes and bitches. I've DJ'd all of that. Like for decades, I've DJ'd all that stuff. But nothing feels better than when you're playing a song that's like, you're beautiful, you know, it's true, you know, and songs that just make you feel amazing. It's just nothing better.
Man, I agree. Well, is that part of what your vision is for the future? You know, we talk about future plans. Like, where's your head at with music right now? What are you thinking about? What are you excited about?
Oh, I mean, I'm just excited about music in a whole. I do feel like there's a balance happening. I'm ready to participate in that balance. But yeah, I feel like we're moving into a space where it's going to be nothing but great music, nothing but great energy. Some great parties are going to be coming up with great positive music. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, what about you, man? What's coming up for you? Is there anything? Obviously, you said 21 songs in 21.
Singles like crazy. Best thing to do would just be to follow me on Instagram at Walshy Fire. But yeah, I'm working on a second to Bang album. I have a label coming out with my decent Call a Bang. Hopefully going to channel tons of records through there. And yeah, I'm just excited about this middle to last part of 21 and what's going to happen in 22.
Is it a bang? Is that a Ghanaian word?
Yeah. For the bull's horn.
Okay.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say a call to culture.
Well, that's beautiful, man. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Is there anything we haven't covered? I could talk to you for a long time, man. I enjoy this, but is there anything we haven't talked about? Anything that's on your mind? Anything else you want to get out there?
No, not at all. I think that's good, man. And I appreciate this, man. I know it's been a long time coming. So.
Long time, man. And yeah, hopefully sometime down the road, once we can all be in person, I'd love to sit down in person and do this again, man.
Oh yeah, if we do this in person, it's going to be a 3-hour conversation.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, look, I'll let you get out of here, man. I want to ask you one last question. It's the same question I ask at the end of each one of these interviews. Just looking for a time in your life, a memory, a moment, and it could be from any time, when in a single moment, music really affected you deeply, really had a deep impact on you. And that's meant to be really broad question. There's no wrong answer.
Too many of these. The first time would be when I saw my mother and father dancing to a song called Someone Loves You, Honey by J.C. Lodge. There was another song there called Stealing Love on the Side by... I can't remember who right now, but definitely look it up. There's two versions, an American version and a reggae version. Both are amazing. It might be JC Lodge as well, but I don't remember. But those two songs, watching them, that was the first time I ever saw like them in live. My first girlfriend, there was a song called Good Life by Coco T. Such an amazing song. What that song did for me and her in building our relationship was incredible. Second girlfriend, there was a song, I started to get into soul. So there was Ron Isley and Isley Brothers, Atlantis. That one, man, that was such a great song. Because I was going away to college. And I just remember it was like a very I'm going to Atlanta. And the song's called Atlantis. And the song keeps saying, come back to me and things like that.
Wow, yeah.
Just a big moment. Eric being Rakim, Paid in Full. I remember that being the most impactful song to me lyrically, because it was the first time I actually dissected lyrics. Erykah Badu's On and On, another moment where I really dissected lyrics and started to understand that what she was saying was very 5% nation, very Muslim. I didn't understand that before, but as I grew up, I began to understand that she was very in touch with the Muslim culture. And then the lyrics of that song reflected that.
Right.
Man, I could go on and on, bro.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you just gave me 5 answers. Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing, though, which I love, is two things. One, you're talking about the power of music to bring people together and to strengthen relationships between people, right? Which is one of those things we started off this conversation talking about, how we have trouble doing that now. And the second thing I'm hearing you talk about is...
real quick, I don't know if there's music nerds here, man. So I just want to continue real quick just for the music nerds.
Please, let's go.
Got to college and it was Alias, Follow Me, impactful song. Also, I want to thank you, Heavenly Father, Alicia Myers, super impactful song. And it was also Soho, Hot Music. Those are 3 songs I had never heard before I got to college. And when I got to college, they were just extremely impactful. I couldn't believe young people were listening to these songs and dancing as hard as they were. And then joining Black Chinese, Get Free. What an impactful song that was on me. That song predates me. So I was a fan of that song before I joined Black Chinese. And then, of course, Boomaye, Lean On.
Get Free might be my favorite Major Lazer song.
Yeah, for sure, Get Free my favorite. I'll leave it there.
No, that's beautiful, man. The only other thing I was going to say is that what I'm taking out of what you're saying is that, music also gives us the ability to maybe understand or have perspective on things in our own life that maybe we were aware of in the background, but never really thought about consciously or never knew how to process or to understand. And then sometimes you hear one lyric or you just hear one melody even, and something clicks, and then the way you see the world changes. I mean, that to me, what could be more powerful? What could be like a better goal for music making than that?
Right. Yeah, big facts. Totally.
100%, man. Well, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate you. It's good to see you. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you and good to talk to you too, man. Much respect, man.
Much love, man. I'll talk to you later. Take care.
All right, my brother. Take it easy, man.
Take care. Peace.
Cheers.
That's the show. Shout out to Walshy Fire. Thank you for coming on, man. I'm glad we finally connected. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, Walshy Fire dropping 21 singles in 2021. He's got a new compilation called Rudimentary out with VP and Greensleeves right now. And, he's part of Major Lazer. I don't got to tell you about Major Lazer. New music all the time, tours, shows all the time. Keep up with them, but hit the link in the description specifically and go keep up with Walshy Fire, because you don't want to miss what he's about to do. My name is Willy Joy. You can always keep up with me as well at Willy Joy or at BackToBackPod on all social media. BackToBackPod@gmail.com is the email address, and then there's going to be another link in the description of this show. You already know. It's the Back to Back Discord. Come say hi to me in the Discord. It's the best way to reach me. It's the easiest way to reach me. There's a great group of people. If you're a music producer, come share what you're working on, get some feedback, meet some other like-minded musicians. And if you want to start being a part of these conversations, head over to the Discord as well. That's it for this week. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good one so far. Whatever part of the week, whatever part of the day I'm catching you in. whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, whether you're at home, at the gym, in the car, avoiding your family, avoiding your responsibilities. I mean, this podcast is a great way to avoid your responsibilities. I should really be pushing that angle more. But whatever it is for you, wherever you're at, I'm glad we get to share this time. And I hope that whatever's going on in your life, it's going well. I hope it's going the way you want it to. If it's not, it will get better, I promise you. Most importantly, though, I hope you go out. I hope you have some fun, some laughs, be around people you like. Stop hanging around with the people you don't like so much. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. And yeah, that's it. We're done. I love you guys. I'll talk to you next week for Back to Back. This is Willy Joy. Peace.